Hello, everyone, and welcome to InvoTalks. This is your host, Zofishan Aman, Assistant Business Manager in InvoZone. So, today's episode, we are going to talk about ChatGPT-4, especially in enterprises and in businesses. So, our today's guest has almost 18 years of experience in software industry, and she has 12 years experience in progress, and she is a vice president of engineering at Progress as well. Keeping in view her experiences in the software industry, we are specifically going to discuss about ChatGPT-4 in developers life, and what it is, whether it is going to be, whether it is a nightmare or an angel for developers. So without wasting her precious time, let's get started. Hello Lilia, how are you? And thank you
Hi.
so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm good, thank you.
Great. So before we officially start, Lilia, please tell us about yourself.
Okay. As you mentioned, I've been in the industry for almost 18 years now, and I've been holding multiple roles within that space. I started as software engineer back in the days, holding roles as technical lead, manager of individual development team, multiple teams, organizations. I've been responsible for product development as well as for solutions development within specific business area. And today I'm leading the engineering organization of the digital experience business unit at Progress. And I'm responsible for 4 product lines, and these are Progress Telerik, Progress Candle, Progress Safety, and Progress Move It. And we have more than 300 engineers globally.
Oh wow, amazing. So you mentioned that you are handling multiple products, and you are handling multiple departments as well. So how is it felt like, and how challenging it is to manage a team or who is entirely dependent on you?
It's a very interesting question. First of all, I'd like to say that my team is luckily not entirely dependent on me. If that was the case, I think that would be problematic because I don't find this model be scalable model, and definitely not a model that can lead to a long-term success. But as you said, it is definitely challenging to lead and manage such a big organization. It's challenging to build a cohesive team with aligned goals, priorities, and practices. And I think the recipe to deal with that complexity in such a competitive market in terms of talent and customers, I think the recipe is to have a strong and empowered team. And luckily, I think I have one. But what it means to have an empowered team, it means for me as a leader to provide organizational clarity, and my team to have the technical expertise to make the decisions on their own at the right time.
Okay, nice, amazing. So does this, because being a vice president, you have to handle lots, you have pressure from your upper management, and then you have a pressure from your lower associates as well. So is it difficult, and how challenging it is to manage such stress and such level of pressure, and does it impact your personal life as well?
It is hard. It's definitely hard. Some days I'm 2 feet deep into tactical tasks, resolving dependencies, figuring out priorities and so forth. And some days I'm fully booked with strategic thinking and strategic research, what's happening on the market, what are the technology trends, and having discussions with stakeholders, my peers, and top management and my team on what we should be doing in response to these trends. It's hard to stay on top of all these, and sometimes it takes sacrifices on my personal life, but I try to be very cautious about it and allow for cycles, have times when I'm more busy with work, but then catching up with more things as well. So I would say that that's my approach to dealing with it.
And I understand. It must been very difficult, and you are doing it in a very amazing way. So, Lily, you mentioned earlier that Progress has some products as well. Please tell us about the Progress, what Progress is doing, what services Progress is providing, and also please, for our listeners, share what products Progress have.
Sure. So Progress vision is to propel business in a technology-driven world. And our mission is to be the trusted vendor of the best products for to deploy, manage high impact applications. And in particular, for the business unit that I'm leading, the engineering organization for, we are developing the best products for the organizations to provide outstanding customer experience. And we enable organizations to do so in a very effective and productive way for their employees. That's in a nutshell what we are doing. And we've been recognized many times for the ease of use of our products. We have best-in-class UX products for the flexibility that's in the product to meet specific business use cases. And we've been recognized multiple times for the great support that we provide to make sure our customers have a success with our products and their business goals.
Okay, so how you facilitate your customers, Lilia? I mean, how you, I mean, for our listeners out there, please tell us if someone came to you, so how you guys will facilitate them, and how you guys provide, do you guys provide consultations to them as well?
Sure. So we are providing products for different personas. We, on one hand, have a very large developers community that is very keen on the developer tools that we develop. And it's a very vibrant community which Progress supports. On the other hand, we provide products to our marketers and larger organizations who needs to build the digital presence of their companies with our products. We have a content management system and an ecosystem around it with marketing tools and conversational UI who are supporting organizations to build their digital presence and the customer experience of their customers through these digital systems that they build with our products. So this is on top of that, we are, of course, providing technical support, professional services when this is needed, mission critical support. So depending on the customer needs, Progress is there to provide the right level of service.
Okay, amazing. So, Progress has some awesome products.
For
Nice.
sure.
Okay, so Lilia, have you heard about the most trending ChatGPT-4?
Of course, I have. Of course.
What are what are your own thoughts about it, apart from its pros and cons? What you yourself think about ChatGPT-4?
Yeah, it has been a hot topic for the past few months. It has been a news out there, and people have been talking about it significantly. And ChatGPT-4 is the new version of ChatGPT with a few improvements there, which I will talk about a little bit later. But overall, I think this is very exciting technology. I think it will open up many new opportunities, and it will definitely reshape the IT space. It's very early to say what exactly it, the influence of ChatGPT will look 5 years from now. You can read many speculations about it, but as of today, I think it's very important with the capabilities that it brings in terms of productivity, time savings. It's amazing the level of productivity it can bring when we are researching certain topic, looking for information. We can ask ChatGPT certain questions or multiple questions, and it will produce a response based on the data that it was trained to. And the more context we provide to the engine, the more relevant response we will get. So I think the ideal use of ChatGPT as of today is to use it as an expert, asking the right questions, guiding and providing more context so that you can get most benefits out of it.
So, since you have a technical background and you have been a software engineer and managing from development to managing, so please tell us that, I mean, is it is ChatGPT-4 has some benefits for developers, or is it impacting developers, and what are your thoughts?
Sure.
It has
So
some negative view or some positive, I mean.
it definitely brings positive and benefits for the developers overall. It helps developers today, as I already said, with researching technical topics, certain ideas. It can help as a reference point for best practices. It also is very effective in terms of when we need to onboard on a new technology. It can help you get to understand quicker, providing the right information on the new technology. So that's one way developers gain benefit from the engine. But there are other aspects to it. For the past few months, we saw multiple examples of how ChatGPT can produce code snippets, can basically generate code, can help improve the quality of the code, also detect issues with the code and suggest simplifications. So these are all goodies that developers can gain benefit from. But it is also important to mention that as it is today, the engine produces sometimes code with errors in there. Sometimes in the code you can see methods that do not exist, but the entire solution is based on this. So it really requires certain level of expertise of the developer who is using the engine, so that the developer can really determine whether that's a reliable response from the engine or not. So if you're less experienced, then you may be misled by the responses and really go in a direction that you don't want to. But I think that engine can be very useful for experienced developers who know how to use it, and basically how to navigate with instructions to get most out of it. We've seen examples where the engine can create entire websites and applications with guided steps provided from the developer. And that only reveals the potential of the engine going forward. It's very early on. It still produces simple things, but I think it can definitely evolve significantly in going forward. So that's one aspect, learning, getting for reference, making sure it helps you generate code. But there's another important aspect that I want to highlight that developers and businesses in general need to consider. ChatGPT capabilities can be integrated into other systems, other software products that developers are building today. They can leverage ChatGPT technology to create resources, digital assets, content right in the system, and with that really help the users of the end system with their productivity. Being able to use what ChatGPT is producing in the context of other systems.
So in your view, I mean, developer require a certain level of expertise to make ChatGPT useful.
So it's definitely useful, even for the junior ones. The only caveat there is, use it as something to learn from, but be cautious about the things it produces. Make sure you cross-check things that you learn from there, and have the critical thinking that's needed, the healthy critical thinking when using ChatGPT. I don't think it can be the only source of learning at this point. Maybe at some point it can, but certain level of critical thinking needs to be applied.
So, don't you think it is affecting the productivity of the developers as well? Because I've heard from a lot of people that it is impacting the productivity of developers. It is impacting the productivity, human brain productivity. So, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think is it really so, or is it exaggeration?
So let me make sure I understand your question. So when you say impacting productivity, you mean impacting in a negative way or helping productivity?
I mean, a negative way as well as in a
Negative.
positive way, more towards negative way.
Okay, okay, I see. So as I said, it could be definitely be a time saver. If you know what you're doing and if you're using ChatGPT, it can help you produce more things quicker. But if you don't know what you're doing and you try to use ChatGPT, then you can go in a direction that you don't have to. And in that case, it is impacting productivity negatively because you lose cycles trying to use it and figuring out the solution, but it's not helping you because you're not able to either provide the necessary context so that it is useful, or sometimes there's one thing that is important for ChatGPT to know. It's not doing well with concepts that are very recent, like young concepts that have emerged in the past year or so. It is good with data that is older than 1 year. So if you try to use it in that context, it will not produce good results and it will definitely lose productivity. So if you try to rely too much on it, at this point, I don't think it's a good idea, and probably it confirms what you have heard from other developers.
Yeah, I totally align with your point, and I totally agree with that as well. So, in your view, since you have a vast experience in the software industry, how can businesses maximize the potential of ChatGPT-4?
How they can maximize. So I would say on top of mind, ChatGPT is really strong in generating content. So that's really the first thing. The first thing that the businesses needs to consider how they can generate content that is of a help of their customers. That includes customer service, customer support, marketing materials, and so forth. So many, many, many aspects. It could be developer documentation, and so forth. But the other aspect that businesses need to also consider as an important capability of ChatGPT is that it can understand the context of the user, of the customer better. And it can help personalizing the experience of that customer, being able to extract and distill through the conversation what's important for the user and for the customer. So having that knowledge for the business, that's very powerful for the business to basically create more relevant experience, more relevant content to the customer so that they're happy, and that basically to drive better business results. So that's one aspect. And then I would say in the coming months, we would probably start to see more and more systems and tools integrating ChatGPT technology in their own products, and with that help businesses really maximize the value that they can get from ChatGPT in the context of all the systems that they use, not only through the interface that is provided today broadly, but in the context of all the systems that they use. So that's my expectation that will happen as a trend.
So do you think it is making IT or software industry more towards optimization and automation?
Definitely, I think ChatGPT will drive increased automation of certain routine tasks, repetitive tasks, and with that, it will give more space for developers and IT focus on tasks like integrations and more strategic things on where we should go, how to integrate things, how to put them together, and not deal with routine maintenance.
You have, since you have it for 18 years of experience and 12 years with the progress, you have seen how IT industry and software industry has technical industry or has revolutionized, and it has changed with time. With, I mean, it is changing quite quite quickly. And do you think that ChatGPT can change businesses forever, or and this technology leading to the time when companies can run without a CEO or CTO, or it doesn't require a C-suite person to run a company?
So definitely, I would also think about the industrial revolution now that I'm seeing all the dynamic with Chat GPT, and I think similar thing will happen. We will see in another level of increased automation in our lives. We saw some level of that back in the days, and I think it's gonna be another significant automation boost. Some people call it that we will see the era of automation. So I definitely expect that technology to happen, and I would expect the IT industry to change, roles in the industries to change, the skill set that is needed there to change. So we as experts in that space will have to adapt and shift as needed. That's given. But to your question about the possibility for AI to replace CEO and CTO. When I'm thinking about it, and more specifically to ChatGPT, I think there are a few very important things that are important for the roles of leaders like CEO and CTOs, which ChatGPT is not good at or cannot handle at all. So one thing, and which I mentioned before, is critical thinking. The engine on its own cannot provide critical thinking on the data that we input into it, and it cannot provide critical thinking on the output. In the role of CEO and CDO, I think their daily job is, asking the right questions, making sure that what they see is data is the correct data. They don't want to make decisions on the wrong data and so forth. So applying critical thinking on the input is a very important aspect of the role. And also applying critical thinking on the output is even more important. CEOs present companies externally. If AI gets to produce wrong results, which get out there, that's going to be extremely damaging for the company. So without these control points and critical thinking of a human, I think it would be very dangerous to have AI in the company. And for CTOs and CEOs as well, AI has knowledge about the past. They learn from past data and so forth. And for leaders, real leaders should be able to look in the future, relate dots to what something unforeseen. And that's not something AI can do for them. And then finally, the human aspect of things. Leaders need to lead people through ambiguity. AI is not dealing with ambiguity very well. They need to inspire, they need to align, make people wanting to follow them. And I don't think, just a text with specific sentiment can serve this purpose. So I'm not seeing anytime soon AI to replace these roles because of the things I just mentioned.
Yes, totally agree with your point, because being a CEO or a C-suite person, it requires a certain skills that you mentioned, it critical skills, leadership skills, leadership roles, and being CEO, you have to manage your team, keep them motivated, and handling a lot of things like representing your own company and all. So an AI based product can't compete a human brain. In short, I think human brain is human brain.
This is my view at this point, yes.
Thank you once again for giving us your precious time.
Thank you.